The combat sports world is arguably the most grueling industry that is out there today. When you're a professional fighter, you have to dedicate your life to this sport, and on occasions, this sport doesn't repay the way you want it to. The same could be said for one-time UFC welterweight title challenger Darren Till. Competing now in the UFC's middleweight division, Till has struggled with major injury issues in recent months. Matter of fact, ever since he returned to the middleweight division in 2019, Till has just competed in 3 fights at 185, with 2 of them being losses to Robert Whittaker and Derek Brunson respectively. Till's last fight was back in September of 2021 when he faced Brunson in a 5-round main event that he lost via submission in the 3rd round. Now, Till did have his moments in the fight, but the fight completely turned in favor of Brunson, and from there onwards he simply dominated the gorilla on the ground and eventually made him tap out. With that loss, Till has now lost 4 of his last 5 fights, with his last victory being over Kelvin Gastelum in 2019 in his return to middleweight. While I do think that Till is definitely in no danger of being let go by the UFC at the moment, that doesn't change the fact that he needs to start performing and get some wins in the UFC and has to somehow make sure that he doesn't go on a 3-fight losing streak by losing his next bout as well. The good part is, Darren Till himself hasn't given up and has been very optimistic about his return to the octagon. Training alongside a beast like Khamzat Chimaev is very likely to help him a lot, and in a recent interview with ESPN, Till made it clear that he's helping Khamzat prepare for his upcoming fight against Nate Diaz while being in the camp for himself as well. It means that Till is once again back in training after recently pulling out of his rebooked fight against Jack Hermansson at UFC London, and this was in fact the 2nd time he has pulled out of a fight with the choker. And to make things a lot worse, Till has now missed both the UFC London events that have taken place this year, so you can pretty much imagine the hard time he has been going through in recent months. But it's like I said, Darren Till is still very optimistic and is not giving up on his dreams just yet. Speaking to ESPN recently, he made it clear that his goal is to still win the UFC title. With that being said though, the question that now remains, who is going to be Darren Till's next opponent? The answer to that is pretty simple. For a return fight, I think putting Darren Till into the octagon with someone like Chris Curtis is the best option. After Chris's last fight against Jack Hermansson, one thing that was proved quite clearly is the fact that he is definitely not ready to fight guys in the top 10 just yet. Now, I know that Darren Till is ranked at number 9, but that doesn't change the fact that Till versus Curtis is the best option from here onwards, because Darren hasn't won a fight in forever, and putting him in the octagon against someone like Andre Muniz, who is ranked at number 10 and is right behind him, would be a stupid decision on the UFC's behalf in terms of matchmaking. And the fighters who are currently ranked above Till are no less of a killer, and I personally think that the UFC definitely shouldn't book Till against someone like Sean Strickland or maybe even Jack Hermansson, because those shouldn't be your go-to options once you think of a return fight for Darren Till. So that being said, Darren Till versus Chris Curtis benefits both fighters. I think it gives Till the perfect opportunity to find his rhythm inside the octagon after such a long absence, and it also gives him the desired opponent, because it is quite likely that Chris Curtis will be standing and trading with someone like Darren Till and would prefer to keep this as a striking battle. Whereas a win over Darren Till will help Chris break into the top 10 and will also help him grow as a fighter and make sure that he is confident enough in the future against big names like Jack Hermansson. But as for Darren Till, this has to be his make or break fight. He cannot afford to go 1-5 in his last 6 fights with another potential loss in his next bout. He needs to get this victory in his next fight regardless of who his opponent is, because at the end of the day, Till is still a very marketable fighter for the UFC, and I'm pretty sure that the UFC would have loved to build a UK-based fight card around someone like him, who at one point you would argue was the biggest star of the UK that the UFC had. But now that I look at it, the UFC now has the likes of Tom Aspinall, Paddy Pimblett, Molly McCann, and new UFC welterweight champion Leon Edwards from the UK. So before Till becomes an afterthought in that particular market, he needs to prove to the UFC that he still belongs to the top and that he can still pull the numbers by being a very marketable fighter. Well, we shall see how soon Darren Till returns to the octagon, and we can hope that he gets back to his absolute best by overcoming all his injury issues. But as for this video, that was my entire take on the Darren Till situation and his ESPN interview. Let me know in the comments if you think that Till has what it takes to win the UFC middleweight title, or maybe he could even return to the UFC welterweight division at some point in the near future. But that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.